many people were afraid of losing jobs. And as a matter of fact, some of them did. They did lose their jobs to technology. However, the advent of computers again generated an entirely new kind of jobs. There are some people who are absolutely clueless about where they want to go, what they want to do, where they see themselves 5 years from now, so on and so forth. In other words, they don't actually have any kind of clearly defined vision for themselves. I always tell my students and clients that it is absolutely vital that they be able to define their problems correctly. A well-defined problem is half solved.
Hi, I'm Obehi the author of the storytelling series for small businesses and content creators. In Obehi Podcast, we talk about the power of your story, your narrative, and why you should own your voice. Whether you are a small business owner, a content entrepreneur, or you simply want to build your influence, storytelling is probably going to be your best instrument to connect with your audience. So join the awakened few who are owning their voices. Now let's get started with today's episode.
I'm a career coach and a visiting professor. I train people in terms of job search and career advancement.
That's interesting.
Basically what I do.
Okay, so how did you get into career coaching? Because that's what we are going to be talking about today.
I've been involved with the field of education and training for 23 years now. This is almost the 24th year running. So my work obviously opened doors to a lot of career talks. It's opened doors to counseling. It opened doors to my visiting a lot of companies, assisting them with interviews, etc. So this was something that was developed over a period of time. It is not that I just stepped into it overnight.
Mm-hmm. All right. So when you say career coaching, I don't know if you want to say anything about that. Like, what exactly are you doing with your client? Like, okay, we're trying to say, what kind of problem are you trying to solve for them today?
Now, career coaching basically involves a whole gamut of services. To cut a long story short, there are individuals who are very clear about what it is they actually want to do in their careers, but for some reason they are not able to get there. They are very badly stuck in their journey. Now, why exactly are they stuck? Where does the problem actually lie? Is it to do with the poor branding that they've built? Is it to do with you know career advancement? Are there areas in their careers which need to be dealt with? Are there gaps that need to be filled? So, career coaching is all about problem identification and solution garnering.
When people meet you generally, what do they complain to you about? Sort of help you to understand what they are going through. People that come to you that you are coaching, what kind of problem do they complain to you about career that need your help? I mean, can you share with me about that?
Yeah. Almost all the people who come to me can be classified into two categories. The first category consists of those people who are actually dealing with personal issues. And I've said this several times in my talks and in my posts that if a person is not doing well personally, he or she cannot possibly be making strides professionally. So there are a lot of people who come to me and they start pouring out their heart about uh, they're not being able to make a mark in their careers, they're not being able to progress, they're not being able to scale great heights, etc. Very often when I start probing, I realize that what they're actually sharing with me is not the problem itself, but the symptoms of the problem. So when I dig deeper, it ultimately goes to the personal level. There are issues in their personal life that have to be sorted out, that have not been dealt with, etc. So that turns to life coaching, talking to them about their own personal matters, helping them cope with these difficult situations in life. Somebody could be going through a difficult time, somebody could be having some strained relationship, so on and so forth. So, this is the first category of people. The second category of people are those who have issues either with their resumes, that is, they're posting their resumes, but they're not hearing back at all, or they're receiving offers for positions which are not at par with where they stand. For instance, if the individual is worth 60 lakhs in the market, he'll receive offers for positions which are worth merely 40 or 45 lakhs. So, very clearly, there is a hiatus between what the individual deserves and what he actually receives. So, why does this hiatus exist? What are the problems in his resume that have to be necessarily dealt with? These are the issues with his resume. Then, with somebody else, it could be uh, issues with how to actually gain the uh, attention of hiring managers. It could be with his LinkedIn profile, it could be with his personal visibility, it could be with his personal branding, or it could be with his career advancement itself. So, again, there the problem can be put into two different categories. So, the first happens to be job search, and the second happens to be career advancement.
All right, thank you so much for that. Now, in terms of maybe the industry that you focus on, I don't know if you deal with any type of career or you have a specific. So, is there any area, any industry that you are focusing on in your career coaching?
I've been in this field for almost a quarter of a century. And in these 23, 24 years, I've actually dealt with practically every field that you can possibly think of. So I've had exposure to a lot of areas. It is more to do with telling them how they could overcome these problems rather than getting into the subject matter expertise itself.
Before you were saying that sometimes people don't have clarity on what they actually want, which of course can make the job a little bit harder for you. So how do you move them from not having clarity to having clarity? Help me understand that process, how you walk them through.
There are obviously some tools that we use. There's a system in you know psychological counseling. There's a scientific method based on the principles of psychological counseling that we put to use, and we adhere to the system and finally emerge with the solutions to the problems that they are grappling with. Number one. Number two, it is more about getting to understand where exactly he's coming from, what exactly he wants to be doing, and what gap exists between where he ought to be and where he actually is. There are again different problems here. There are some people who are absolutely clueless about where they want to go, what they want to do, where they see themselves 5 years from now, so on and so forth. In other words, they don't actually have any kind of clearly defined vision for themselves. They have no vision, they have no bigger dream, so to say. So this is the first category of people. The second category of people are those who are clear about what they want to do, but for some reason they're not able to reach that goal. So it is all about analyzing the problem, figuring out what gaps actually exist. I carry out a gap analysis and identify all of the gaps which exist between where he currently is and where he would like to be. Then, once you define that problem, it's only a matter of applying solutions. I always tell my students and clients that it is absolutely vital that they be able to define their problems correctly. A well defined problem is half solved. So, define your problem correctly. Once you are able to define your problem correctly, it is only a matter of applying the right solution.
It is said that a problem shared is a problem half solved, because most of the problem you are not going to be able to solve it yourself. So by sharing with other people, you have more chances of having it solved.
Yeah. The
Um,
question of sharing comes into picture only when they are able to define it. So they first have to define the problem.
Now, say maybe somebody is not able to define the problem. What would you say to this individual? I mean, what are the strategies to? Okay, because people that are listening to you now, some of them might be in that situation that they are not able to articulate what their problem is, and sometimes they are not able to communicate it because first you need to understand what you want to communicate before you can communicate it clearly. So, what would you suggest to such an individual to be able to overcome that problem?
Now, that is where the career coach comes into picture. If there is somebody who is not able to define his problem, in fact, I run into many such cases where people themselves don't actually know what is wrong with them. They simply say, "Sir, I don't know what is wrong with me. I don't know why I'm stuck." So when I myself am not clear about why I'm stuck, how can I tell you, what the actual issue is? So in that case, what we do is start with building a solid case. Okay, we deal with case history. Uh, we look at his entire career history, and then we start connecting the dots. Obviously, you will run into some or the other pitfall somewhere or the other, and then you know where exactly things went awry.
Now, when you do all this kind of work back and forth with your client, do you usually need to meet them face to face, or do you need to rely on technology? By that I mean, all the people that you are working with, are they necessarily within your locality, or do you also work internationally? And if you do internationally, how do you manage that? Help me understand that.
It is not mandatory that I meet them face to face in person. In fact, right now I'm catering to clients from about 16 or 18 countries. So almost all of them meet me digitally. We meet via Zoom and other platforms.
Is that I know there is a number of people that I've interviewed here who have told me that COVID-19 have changed their business. That sometimes they used to do everything physically in that in person, but now because of COVID-19, most of them change their model to Zoom, where you can talk with people. And of course, that is true in many instances. Even for me too. Most of the things I've always been doing it online before, but in this podcast, for example, it actually was born in the period of COVID because you could see that a lot of people were at home; they couldn't go anywhere. Of course, the question was, what are we going to do now? What is the next? So, the possibility of Zoom and Skype to be able to connect with one another and record ourselves, it become a huge opportunity, both for individual and also for businesses. So I don't know if that have anything to do also with you, why you decide to shift online, or you were already online before the COVID-19 happened.
Well, I would simply say that the human race is a pretty resilient race. So we are very resilient. It is very difficult to press down human beings. So we obviously bounce back. We always manage to find solutions to gnawing problems. So COVID-19 or the lockdown during COVID-19 literally got us to find innovative ways of connecting with people. So there are some good things that have come from that difficult phase in our lives, and we are able to put that to use. One is obviously connecting with people from across the globe in almost no time, having live conferences, meeting wonderful people like you, etc. So that's one. But having said that, nothing, absolutely nothing can actually replace actual physical human interaction. So I know many people who enjoy going back to office and are very happy with the fact that they've gone back to office.
That leads me to another question, kind of a curiosity that I'm having. In that, how do you see the future of work? I remember the other day I was interviewing a professor in South Africa University, Pretoria, looking at the future of work because the work environment have changed. A lot of things have changed. Sometimes I used to say here in this podcast, this is not just because of COVID-19. Before COVID-19 came, a lot of people have already been forecasting that a lot of activity should shift online. And because as human beings, we are not always fixed in our mode of operation. Our way of doing things are not always fixed. We're always looking for a way to do it better. And within the field of business, businesses, executives are looking for a way to get better at a lower cost sometimes. And if you just look at how you are able to work with the internet, and where you have most of your employee working directly from home, you see that that is, of course, less for a company that is footed the B, because they pay you, they spend less money for them to be able to get better result. So it's just natural that a lot of businesses are going to move online. I think most businesses that actually started this were the US businesses who were hiring a lot from Asia country. Okay, you are in Asia, so you understand probably what I'm talking about now. A lot of US multinational, they were hiring people in the Philippines, in India, in Pakistan, your country, and also in other places for them to be able to do work for them. And because there are a lot of work that we can do that we don't necessarily need to be in the same place. We can work across the globe. I mean, to have experimented on it, I see that it is effective, you know. And because if you want somebody to write an article for you, it doesn't necessarily mean the person must be sitting in your office because he can write the article. You could tell him, this is how I want the article to be. This is what I want you to cover. Even though the person is in the moon, he can write it in the moon and send it to you. You can still have it and you're fine. So I'm trying to understand from your perspective, since you are a career coaching, how do you see the future of work going forward? So maybe in the next 5, 10 years from now.
Work has always taken unexpected turns. But then the positive thing is that human beings have always managed to find innovative ways to create work for themselves. For instance, when I remember back in the 90s, when you know computers were when people started using computers in railways and in banks, etc., many people were afraid of losing jobs. And as a matter of fact, some of them did. They did lose their jobs to technology. However, the advent of computers again generated an entirely new kind of jobs. So uh, we don't actually have to worry about all of that. I would simply say be good at something. And if you are good at that thing, trust me, doors will open to you automatically.
You said something very important there. No, a lot of people are afraid of the internet, are afraid of technology. Now we talk of AI, particularly with ChatGPT and all the models that have come with it, with Google and Microsoft, almost in a complete battle. Yesterday, I wrote an article that I published on our website talking about the fear, the struggle that is going on between Google and Microsoft on the world of search engine. That, of course, Microsoft is accusing Google of playing the monopoly. So that is why the case is just to call it the United States. No? A lot of people think that AI is going to take their job. I think you are in a good position to tell them whether they should be afraid or whether they should not be afraid. But whether or not they are afraid is really immaterial. What are they supposed to do? I mean, how can they be ready to leverage the tools instead of just be afraid of the tools and therefore retire and go home to cry? What can it? Because I look at internet, I look at everything we have in front of us as tools. We are the ones that are supposed to use the tools. We cannot be afraid of the tools. Like, even in the Stone Age, we were still using tools. But the difference is that the tools we were using then and the tools we are using now are different. We're always looking for a way to have better tools so we can do better work, but do less tedious work. We get better results with less tedious work. That is, I think, where we are going. There is no way we are going to be able to close down the internet, close down the computer, and go back to how it was, I don't know, maybe 30, 50 years ago. I don't see that possibility. So what do you say to people that are afraid of maybe new technology like AI and the future of work, for example?
I would simply ask them to be, number one, alert to changes, developments, etc. Number two, I would also suggest that they be adaptable because honestly speaking, change is inevitable. Change occurs. In fact, the philosopher Heraclitus said that no man steps into the same river twice. So we are all in a state of flux. Everything around us is changing constantly. Some of them are immediately perceptible, whereas others are not immediately perceptible. However, the fact remains that change is at play. So be alert to the change that is transpiring around you, number one. Number two, adapt to that change. Uh, I remember the social philosopher Eric Hoffer said, in times of change, it is only the learners who inherit the earth, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists. So, what are the changes that are happening in your own industry? For example, now take the field of marketing. What marketing used to be, say, about 20 years ago, is not what it is today. 20 years ago, not many of us heard about digital marketing. None of us at least had smartphones back then. Now, marketing has taken an entirely different turn. So, again, that turn created an entirely new kind of jobs. Okay. New kinds of jobs were created because of the transformation that occurred within that field. And the same holds true in several other fields as well.
So what you are telling the people that are listening to you now is that all they just need to do is to learn how to adapt, learn how to take advantage of the tools of the age, because we are never going
Exactly.
back to the stone age. We are never going back to the time where there was no advanced technology, where there was no computer. I say sometime that uh, if we were to look at, say, maybe 100 years ago or 200 years ago, looking at the tools that were available, we will laugh at those that were enjoying the tools that they have, because we say, but how could they manage to enjoy those things? Because they were so crude and almost no enjoyment there, no? Because, for example, look at how the Romans were doing their, what kind of things were they doing to enjoy themselves, no? Only a few 2,000 years ago. What about the Egyptians, for example? They were also doing enjoyment. They were also having fun, no? But of course, Julius Caesar didn't have any telephone number, no? But they were still communicating, you see. So what I mean by that is that about 500 years from now, those that will be living, they will look at the best technology that we have today. They will say, but that was so crooked. How could they manage to work with that? They will look at internet. They will look at the internet that we have today that we see to be the best. Only a few years from now, it will be so updated that we'll be saying, but how could we work with that? So all we just need to do, I think, is to get used to the tools of the age with the time that we are. Because you cannot fight this. You cannot resist this. If you are living at this time, this is your tools. Use it. Learn how to master it so that you can benefit from it. It's all about leverage. But leverage, I often say, of course, when I'm talking of storytelling, leverage only come after you do the mastery. Because until you master your art, your craft, you cannot leverage it because you don't know what you're doing yet, even though you might be just patching somewhere around. All right, thank you so much for that conversation. It really has been very interesting here. So how can people connect with you who want to learn more and maybe get in touch and and follow you? Why not? Yeah, share with them.
Well, I'm very clear about the kind of content that I create on various platforms. On YouTube, all my content revolves only around two things. One is personal development, and the other is professional development. On LinkedIn, all the content that I create happens to revolve around either job search or career advancement. So they can watch my videos on YouTube, benefit from the content there. They could also follow me on LinkedIn. And if they need my services, they're always free to get in touch with me.
All right, thank you so much for that. So what would be your final thought to conclude the conversation?
I would encourage people to be proactive in career advancement. Most people have this fallacious or erroneous notion that careers will take their own course and then advancement will come about in due time, etc. That is not the kind of world that we are living in today. Okay, in today's world, skills sell greatly, talents sell greatly. So there are opportunities everywhere. It is for us to reach out and grab those opportunities. You can't be laid back and hope that those opportunities will come knocking at your door some day or the other. Don't wait for those opportunities to come to you. You go out, step out, be proactive, grab those opportunities, and actually be, uh, you know, really uh, focused on career advancement. Ask yourself what you could do to scale greater heights in your own career. So be proactive, keep yourself updated with the most recent technology or technological advancements in your own field. Make a conscious effort to ensure that you have your best foot forward. That apart, also focus on your job search tools and your job search methods. Don't wait for the 11th hour. Get all of these things ready so you can take the plunge whenever necessary.
Thank you so much, Roshan. It has been a pleasure talking with you. So it will definitely be an opportunity to share with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe so you never miss any of our future episodes. Rate and review Obehi Podcast and share with your friends who might need it. Thank you so much for listening. I'll talk to you in the next episode.